sampling from amongst the many casks that we've got here. And we're going to do a little feature now on sherry butts. These are 500 litre sherry butts that have come all the way from Spain. We're going to look at two types of butt. We're going to look at a butt that was filled in 2018, and that was a butt that was made actually for whisky maturation in Spain, and it was seasoned with Oloroso sherry for 2 years. So 2 lots of 1 year seasoning, emptied out, brought to the UK and to Scotland, of course, and filled with our whisky, or our spirit. And the other one is a much more interesting cask in a way, because it's an actual sherry butt, one that was made and used for maturing sherry. And it again came from Spain, of course, and we filled it in 2015. And what's interesting about this cask is it was selected for us by none other than the late Dr. Jim Swan. And I'll tell you a little bit more about Jim in a minute. But what we're going to do now is we're going to open up the 2018 cask and have a look and see what's in there. We haven't tried this before, so we've got no idea what's in there, but we think it'll be good because it seems that our peated spirit, and that's what we're going to be sampling now, it's Man of Sword, our peated spirit, it combines very well with sherry wood. So let's have a look. James, I'm going to hand over to you.
I'll do the honours.
Yeah.
There we go.
For those of you who don't know, that copper pipe's known as a phalange, and it's in fact it's like a giant pipette really. And James has to mix the whisky before he samples from it because, of course, you will know that alcohol is less dense than water, so the alcohol in the whisky floats to the top. And if we don't mix it, we'll just pull off the alcohol and none of the aqueous phase that's below it. So we give it a mix, pull it out, and then James drops it into glass, and then. Yeah, thank you. Now, I think David's focusing on the colour of that. It's only been in there for 2 years, and the colour is already very rich.
Cool.
Okay, James, so let's have a... I'll let you lead, James, because you got that very keen palate that I don't have.
So yeah, I mean, since, considering this was filled in 2018, the amount of colour this has taken up already is, it's very surprising. So you're starting, I mean, on the nose, the peat is quite subtle. We do kind of find that with the Annandale whiskies, is the peat is quite subtle on the nose, and probably on the palate it'll be quite different. But you're starting to already get that sherry character coming through, so that soft fruits, so dates, raisins, that sort of characteristic is
brown
coming
fruits,
through there. Brown fruits,
exactly.
coming through there. So you're going to find. Oh, so yeah. Get that peat, that real peat explosion on the palate, but then see that nice kind of soft fruit character coming through, and again just a little bit of spiciness as well.
Yes.
So I mean, it's not even whiskey, and it's really good, very good.
I think one of the interesting things about Annandale's peated whisky is that it isn't hugely punchy on the nose, and when you sample it on the palate, it really is very peaty, but it's beautifully integrated with the other characteristics, the Annandale characteristics. But also in this case, the sherry notes that come out, particularly the brown fruit notes. And what I'm interested in always when I'm sampling whisky is complexity. I'm looking for the absence of roughness, and I'm looking for complexity. So a big flavour profile, but not necessarily anything sticking out, other than this case in the peaty character and a bit of dried fruit. And I'm very impressed with this. This is superb, unbelievable, really. It's worth remembering, of course, that it is a virgin oak cask. It's been seasoned for 2 years with Oloroso sherry, so the oak's bound to be very active, and if it's going to give off a lot of colour, the tannin from the oak's going to give off a lot of colour, and it's going to add quite a lot of kind of vanilla notes to it. But I would say that is coming along famously, and that will probably be bottled at quite a young age. So, yeah. Actually, James, I think we should note the cask. We'll definitely note the cask number, then we do anyway, but and keep an eye on that one, because that is a superb whisky. And it's not even whisky; it's still spirit, and it's only 2 years old. But that's one to watch definitely. So I think what we should do now, James, is I think we should just wander to the other end of the bonded warehouse. focus in on this, please. And you can see the initials JS in there. And these are the very first sherry butts that we filled. And as they came off the wagon from Spain, from Miguel Martin's cooperage in Spain, Jim was here and he sniffed all the casks and signed them off as being appropriate for us to fill. So a nice piece of history, a nice little link in with Jim's swan there. Yeah. And if you would do the needful, please, Jim.
Of course, no problem.
So as with the other sherry butt, James is going to use a phalange and give it a good old stir or a rouse, as they say in the industry. Mix up the layers.
Take your glass.
I'll put it there.
Perfect, yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
I've got it. Thanks.
Go.
Cheers. Now again, lovely golden colour, beautiful. What do you think, James?
Slight hint of sulphur in this one, which will mature out.
You tend to get that in those casks that have actually been used for making sherry. They are a wee bit more sulphury often.
Yeah, so you get a nice balance of that nice sweetness with the soft fruits, but then the spiciness, the peat, as I say, that lovely sort of balance that you've got going on there.
Yeah, indeed.
There you go. Lovely, fantastic.
Alright, that's good. So they are actually quite different, aren't they?
They certainly are.
A big difference in character. That one feels like, although it's a bit older, it feels like it's got quite a long way to go. And I'm sure that's because that's very old oak in there. And it's, you know, it's been there 5 years, it probably needs another 5 years, and maybe even a bit longer than that, just to finish it off, because it's not got the complexity yet, and it's a little bit harsh, so it's not ready, but it's still nice whiskey. It's nice whiskey. I can call that one whiskey.
It's certainly, yeah, it is beautiful. It really is, but yeah, just needs a little bit more time.
Yeah. So I'm going to just cut it with a little bit of water. I like to drink my whiskey at 35% alcohol by volume, so I'm just going to guess that one. I'm good at guessing these days. And it certainly mellows it out with a bit of water. Ah yeah, a lot more balance in there now.
One thing you do find with our sherry wood is how relatively very well balanced it is. You haven't quite got that pepperiness that from a bourbon cask, for instance, has. This is a little bit more well-rounded. It must be the kind of soft fruits kicking in here.
Yeah. Anyway, they're two pretty good whiskies. I think I'm particularly impressed by the 2018 one, James. I mean, I'm quite blown away by that, actually. That is very nice whiskey. Anyway, that one needs more time. I think the 2018 cask will be ready before this one.
I think so as well, exactly.
But that's just how it is when you're maturing whiskey, you know. You select different casks and they do different things to the whiskey, and that's the way of the world, and that's why we love it so much. It makes it interesting and fun and intriguing. Anyway, okay, James, well, let's get these sealed up again and let them get back to maturing in peace and quiet. So I'll say cheerio to you now. Slán you back.
Cheers.